the best way to know someone is in a social context. I have crazy hot takes about this topic. I just used to do all my homework one day for the whole week, so I didn't have to worry about it. I just think that it's just going to take you longer if you do that way, and it's just going to...
Hi everyone, welcome to Oceanside Chat, and I am the host, Helen Wang. And today I have my guest here, Pravardh, and he's going to give some brief introduction, please.
Yeah, so hi guys, I'm Pravardh. I'm currently a senior at UCSD, transferred over here last fall, and that's where I met Professor Wang in my first fall quarter class. So I grew up in the Bay Area. I went to high school like every other kid. I did all those extracurriculars. I did the entire like debate, Science Olympiad, did a baseball, like sports, like every other kid in high school. And I realized that I had more to doing what everyone was doing around me. And it really started where it was sibling wars, honestly. It started with sibling wars where my sister was doing so much better than me in school and academics and everything. And I realized that I had kind of had to differentiate in the family. I was not really good at studying, probably have like, I just can't focus in like the education side of my learning in like high school especially. And thankfully COVID hit and I was like, wow, this is great. Like I can do whatever I want now. And that's where I started pivoting into like entrepreneurship, started exploring startups a little bit more, and landed my first gig in 10th grade. And then from there, rest of history.
Oh my goodness, that's great. So I haven't really mentioned, that this is the series we call Founders in L.I.T.E. And the L.I.T.E. is the Oceanside Perspectives Framework. So really stands for leadership, innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship, and which I feel like most successful business leaders out there kind of have those traits and qualities with this L.I.T.E. framework. So I love to explore that. And then the other thing is because we're trying to feature founders across all the generation. So when you just mentioned this 10th grade and just like, you can see that how exciting I am. So, but before we go there, actually we have a game to play.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last guest speaker in your seat picked this card for you for a question that you would answer.
Okay.
So would you mind to read it to our audience and give us your answer?
Okay. What do you think you should laugh about more often?
Do you laugh a lot, first of all?
And dumb stuff. Laugh more about. It's a hard question, actually. I just think that there's more to life than just working. And I strongly believe that what I call it is side quests. And I personally think I originated the word, but I started using side quests in early high school where I was like, okay, I'm going to go and randomly go to San Francisco and come back and side quests. And my friends are always like, oh, wow, you're doing such random things at random times. It's it's a phrase in the group chat. You wouldn't know where Pravardh is on the map if you would in a given moment. And I think that is super funny because I didn't expect myself to do that when I was in 9th grade failing bio. But now I can do that. And I yesterday I was in LA. Saturday I'm going back to LA. That's so funny to me. Yesterday I came back from LA at 12:45 a.m. and I left at 6 a.m. That's so, and it was a Thursday and that's just so silly to me because it's just unimaginable to normal college students that you can just go screw around and have fun with your friends and also be productive.
So you enjoy the freedom?
Yeah, I honestly enjoy life. I think every moment should be it's honestly a dream, and I am super thankful that I can have those opportunities. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like what you described. Basically, you enjoy life every moment, and you follow your heart. Follow yourself wherever you wanted to go and experience and explore. That sounds like, young people should be able to do that. But yeah, in real life, we all know we have school, we have, other things that we have to take care of. So.
I mean, you can do it during school too. Last year, I was so focused on school and I still was having fun and making moments worthwhile. Like even if you're studying, you can have fun.
Yeah.
And I think like having that perspective is like a little silly to me, because a lot of people are like, especially from the Bay Area, are like grind,
Yeah.
and then go grind more in college, and then and like after college you're free. No, you're gonna go get a job now, and then you're gonna go grind more.
It's never ending.
Never ending.
Yeah, unless you wanted to.
Right, like my parents were always like, if you finish 9th grade, you are gonna be good. No, 10th grade is like the defining year. You have to finish 10th grade. Now 11th grade is a defining year. You have college apps. And then once you're done with college apps, you're going to have all the fun you have. And then college comes around. Wow, GPA matters now suddenly for your job applications. And then job applications, you have to grind. And then it's just this crazy, like, you get appealed to the end by your peers and your parents and whoever's significant other in your life, and then you get to it, and then there's like this next goal. But I think like having fun in the moment is very important.
I like the answer.
Yeah.
You also give a lot of good advice, like how do you have fun, you know, in a very busy life. I mean, or in other way to say it is like, and it doesn't matter where you are, and if you made up your mind to it, you should be able to make some fun happen, laugh more. Love it. All right, so the other part of the game is you pick a card from this deck. We don't know what question, so we will both answer that question.
Okay.
Okay. If you read that question.
What's the best evening you've ever had?
Oh, okay. Best evening. You want to go first? I don't have an answer for it.
Best evening. I have so many good evenings. Honestly, the most recent one's yesterday. I went to El Segundo yesterday for a defense demo day, and I've never seen the most chill, relaxed, and productive environment in my life. And that's coming from someone who's seen like New York, Florida, Miami specifically, San Francisco, LA, San Diego ecosystem. Like El Segundo's ecosystem is like the most productive, most hardworking, most exciting, and like fun people that I've ever met in my life. It was from 2 to 5:30, but we stayed there until like 6, just like screwing around and like talking to these crazy research scientists and Harvard and Stanford grads, but they were like the most human, and I've never experienced that. So that was very eye-opening. Like that, an ecosystem can be like that. So that's the goal for San Diego, hopefully soon.
Yeah, wow. Okay, what you just described there was like thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And it's also very personal, right? Like people-to-people interaction and the learning from there. That's wonderful. Well, I don't have any good answer, but just like that evening just keep coming up to my mind is really where we get together actually with my parents and that generation, like their sisters and brothers, and we were on a cruise to Hawaii. And that evening, I think we celebrated New Year together. I thought it was fantastic because that was about 16 people all on a cruise, and you know, from like different families. And of course, we don't have to do anything because you know all the dinner is served right on the cruise as part of the package that you get on. And I think we all enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
And then, of course, a couple years later, I lost my father. So, you know,
I'm
now
so
I
sorry.
miss him. When you mentioned about one evening, that evening just somehow pop out, you know, in my mind. Is like, yeah, I wish that we would have more time spent together. So,
Yeah. I have, so evenings, like friends, obviously, but I think like whenever I go to India, like it's just so much fun because like you are treated, or like you're treated like you're a king or a queen. So I guess it was not one evening, but like every time I go back home and like hang out with the grandparents and like all the cousins, we all like have so much fun. And it's like you realize where you're from, and then like you connect to that. But yeah, very good story.
That's your root.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the other thing we would do is you pick a card. Let's just finish this card game. Doesn't matter which one, and you hide it for now until you, at the end of the podcast, you announce. That will be the first question for the next guest.
Ooh, yes. All right.
Okay, you can peek, but you don't tell yet. Okay, I hope
question.
it's a good one.
It's a really good question.
We don't even know who is the next guest yet, but it would be awesome to, just play this game. All right, so let's go back to your story about 10th grade.
Yeah.
10th grade, and then, when you start having this idea of kind of like just doing things more than just school or more than what parents tell you to do. Right?
Yeah. Started in COVID. So 9th grade was when the spark was, and I was like, wow, like internet money that was the first time where we started like seeing social media people pop off, and like the internet money phase started coming. And I was like, this is so cool. Like the people are literally sitting at home and making a lot of money. And that was unfortunately like my first spark. Like money was the first spark to every 9th grader. And I was like, wow, this is like super cool. And I want to be part of this internet money phase. Didn't get into it. 9th grade was, it was COVID. Everyone was like at home being a potato, but 10th grade, I like really understood the need of it. It was also driven by the fact that I was just like very bad at school. So I was like, wow, I need something right now to like differentiate. And came across, I don't even remember how I like met my first founders, but I think it was through some SF event, and I was like, please, can I be your intern? Like I was begging them, and I was like, I'm non-paid, like everything. And they were like, sure, like you'll have your interview tomorrow. And I was like, okay, bet. And they were like, okay, you have to convert 24-hour fitness into a Web3 company. How would you do it? And I was like, okay, I'll make a PowerPoint and I'll be ready for the interview. And they were like, okay, you have 24 hours. And I was like, okay. And then they were like, oh, you're not going to ask for like more time? And I was like, no, like that's totally more than enough time. Stayed up the entire night creating this presentation. The next day I presented it to the senior partners and like the interviewer that was also just happened to be at Stanford at the time. And they were like, wow, like they were like, okay, really good job. Like this is really cool. They obviously roasted me before they said all of that, but they were like, we were really impressed that 1, you didn't ask for more time, and 2, you actually stuck to like what you committed to. And that, like, I think I carry like all the time, where like if I commit to something, 1, I always finish it, and then 2, like if you can't do it, then like communicating that you can't do it is like really, really important. So they were like, oh wow, like that's cool, like you should join as an intern, non-paid. Fast forward 3 months, got promoted to partner because I landed a couple of deals in like a new space that I like said is gonna pop off, and it did pop off. It was media entertainment and automotive. I love cars, so like I was like, let's target F1, let's target Lamborghini, let's target Alfa Romeo. And they were like, okay, go do it. And then I did it, and then they were like, oh wow, that's impressive. Fast forward 6 months later, we got acquired by Oracle. So that was like the first crazy, like, wow, like I can do something. 2 months before we got acquired, I like secretly dropped out. So that's another like story to tell. But I think like going all in is very important. Like you can't half anything. Like high school is an 8 to 7, because you wake up early as well, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. kind of job. And then if you're working a 9 to 5, it just doesn't work. So that's why I like made the decision to leave. But I think it paid off in the long run.
So were you doing the company for that 6 months? Were you still in school or?
Yes, I was still in school. So I was doing like business calls like at night, and then I was just telling everyone, I was like, I'm so sorry, like I have school. And they were like, okay, like why are you in school? That was the first question. But I mean, I made the decision after a while. And I was still not getting paid after all of that. So it was honestly a bet that I made, the risk of like leaving.
Yeah, but that gave you, I hope, a lot of learnings.
Like
real world learnings.
Yeah, it was definitely fun.
And also
like time management. Time management was very like helpful. I was also taking community college classes as well, like concurrently. So I was like, I calculated it with my mom one day or like in the night, and I was like, guys, I have 170 hours of work this week, and I have to work. Like in terms of like, you know how like a class takes like 6 hours or something, I just added it all up and multiplied by the days, and I was like, I have 170 hours of work. There's not that many hours left to study. So that was like a reality check that like, okay, you have to make a decision. You can't have anything. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to double click on a few points you mentioned, right? One is this event you showed up in San Francisco, and were you like always going to different events, or especially during COVID? I thought there was a lot of like all the in-person event kind of eliminated. So what kind of scenario was that? Like how did you get yourself into that event?
Yeah. Okay. I dropped out October 10th, 2022. Still remember the date. That was the first day where I did not have to go to school. Like that's on my little like transcript. So that was, I guess it was when everything started opening up, and it was also just like masks and stuff. So that event was just like all masks. And then I always went to SF. Like any chance I went, my parents were like, just go live in an SF. Like, what are you doing? Like, why do you even come home? Like, you like SF more than you like your parents.
SF is like your playground.
It was basically my second home. And they were so suspicious about everything I did. They were like, are you doing drugs? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you going to random people's houses? And I was like, no, they're my hacker house friends. Like, and they were like, oh, where are you going to stay the night? Oh, like, I'm going to stay in the hacker house. They're like super suspicious of, because I was a 15, 16-year-old dude, like just going into the city. But all those were learnings that were like super important, I think.
Are your parents like more like traditional parents?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my sister definitely opened everything up for me because she did all the silly things. Like she was the rebel.
Older or younger?
Older. Yeah, she was 4 years older. She's 4 years older than me. She opened everything up for me because she did all the dumb stuff. So my parents were desensitized to the fact that like I can do something dumb now. But I was just a problematic child. Like my parents had to, so I came home from school around 3:34, and my mom always worked late, so like 5 to 6 p.m. she came home, and then she had to come home and cook and like do her work, and then by the time she like gets attention of like she realizes that I'm also there, it's like 9 to 10 p.m. and from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. I was either watching YouTube, I was watching TV, going out and playing in the park. Baseball practice was a huge big one. And then by the time 9 p.m. came around, did you finish your homework question came up? And I was like, no, I didn't even start it yet. And she had to sit with me after dinner. So like 9 to 10 is dinner. And then after dinner, like 10 to like 1, 2, 3 a.m. almost every day, finishing my homework. So like, they were like pissed off because like, come on, lock in. Your sister's doing such a great job. Like, why are you not doing a great job? That's the first thing that always came up. And then the second thing was like, they were like, you're also a guy, so you need to like lock in. Because like guys just like always go and play, and like they're more inclined to doing all that. So they were like, they always got my grandparents involved. There were almost every 3 days of the week there was a call made to India. Like, what is this kid gonna do in his life? Like,
okay.
So I always eavesdropped because why not? And it was like they're crying on the phone. They're like, this kid's not gonna do anything. He's gonna end up on the street. So that was also like a motivation, I guess.
Yeah.
But
are your parents from like tech industry or non-tech?
Yeah, they're tech. Yeah.
Tech industry. I see. Are they like engineer?
Yeah, my mom's engineer and my dad's a hardware.
I see. Like one software engineer, one a hardware engineer.
I mean, both of them are kind of software, but he like specialized in electrical. So
I see. Yeah. So you must somewhat be influenced by them when you grow up because you come from an engineer family.
No.
No.
I hated tech. So my sister and we got taught Python forcefully. So it was like, you have to do this.
Were you like how old?
Oh, like young. I don't even remember. Like we used to do it together, and it was like my dad used to come check our work every night. Like,
I see.
And I was like, wow, this is so silly. Like,
yeah.
Why are we doing this? Like, so my goal was always like, I always used to watch military, and like I always wanted to be a cop. It was like like every guy almost, I think, wants to be a cop, but I wanted to be a cop. I used to watch military like videos. Like if you go back home in our like TV in the house, like it's only military videos recommended in the YouTube. So that was a big goal, and I was never like tech. Maybe it was like like I was working backwards, and my brain was working backwards. But my sister wanted to do debate, so she wanted to do policy, and then I wanted to do nothing. So like there was nothing going on, and I was not influenced. I just think it just fell in my lap. And people say that it just falls in your lap. I honestly think it fell in my lap just because the Bay Area, like if I was in Montana, I best believe I would be in the National Guard right now.
This is why the environment, like where you plug in the community, is super important.
Yeah, very important.
You feel like at your early age that the opportunity just come find you because you just showed up somewhere.
Yeah, 100%. I think like I didn't know that I was going to like these tech events until I knew that until I was doing tech, right? I think like that internship position, it was just a desperate decision, and it was not a I want to be in tech decision.
Yeah. But why did you want to become an intern? Like what motivates you? Since you don't want to do a lot of things, you're just kind of on your own, but all of a sudden, right, that company that you got to know and you really wanted to work for.
I mean, bad grades influenced that decision. Not getting into college influenced that decision. Realizing that like my grades are just not good enough. Desperate times calls for desperate measures.
I see.
And yeah, I just think that like the overall feel of what I wanted to do was just stumbling into like different doors and see which one opened.
Yeah.
And that's why I said it fell into my lap, because I was just so lucky that I was in that environment where like the only thing that I could stumble into was tech and not like literally like anything else in this world.
Is that like a Web3 project that within 24 hours? Was that easy for you?
I mean, I just had to make a pitch deck. I mean, they didn't even tell me what I had to do. They just said like, go create 24 hours fitness and tell us how you would do it. So I made like entire pitch deck and like made it look pretty and did the whole thing, learned PowerPoint, and then pitched it to them, and they like roasted me. They're like, this protocol doesn't even exist. And I was like, my bad guys. I'm not tech. Like I'll grow for you. Like I'll do growth and sales, but I just did what my research like helped me with. But they were like, okay, like we like the grit and we like the fact that you did it and you created a PowerPoint without like most growth companies, you want to present something like a consulting case. So I did it like that, and I mean it worked out. Like honestly, it was luck.
Very amazing, like just amazing story to me. And what stage was that company?
They were they didn't raise a round, so they were like bootstrapped, but they had a couple clients, so
like a very
pretty early stage. Yeah, so
stage. So you basically worked with founders and all that.
Oh yeah, directly with
founders. How many
founders.
people was in that company that time?
There were 6.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was 3
Are you
founders.
the number 7?
I was number 7, yeah. So, and then my interviewer was this, I want to say sophomore or junior at Stanford. We're still friends. And his boss was a junior at Carnegie Mellon. So it was like a very young team on the growth side. And all of us are still friends. Like they're all coming down to San Diego like next week. So.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. You have a party here.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about like kind of business development. You thought about a F1, you thought about like cars and other industry to expand whatever that company is doing, right, to those. I mean, seems like you successfully did those business deal. How did you do it?
I just like cars. I bother a lot of people to go look at these cars. The Lamborghini guys at the San Francisco dealer like know me by face now because how much I just like annoy them about cars. And like I was just like, please, like I know this will work. This is such a great idea. And they were like, Pravardh, if you stop bothering me, I'll do it. And I was like, okay, so I'll leave. And then they're like, okay, yeah, leave. And then thankfully, like the guy like listened to me. And it's honestly like, if you want it, you will get it. Like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I think is like the biggest thing I've learned from growth and sales. Like asking will give you what you want. Like if people are too scared to like email like Mark Cuban and things. Like he does respond to those emails. Like when my friends emailed Mark Cuban, he did indeed respond to his email. So putting yourself out there really matters. Not being scared of what people think about you really does matter. You're only going to get that chance once or twice. And then the third time they will think you're weird. And then they're like, why is this guy not asking me questions?
I guess two reaction here. One is I would love you to tell my students this quarter when we get a chance to get you to the classroom in terms of like how do you acquire customer? Because one of the requests from my classroom was, now we have this idea, we design the MVP, but how do we go acquire customers? So whatever you just said, I think resonated a lot, but they need to hear from you, not me.
Yeah.
So that's one. Secondly is like, could you briefly describe about what type of product or services that the first company that you worked for?
Yeah, it was Web3 infrastructure. So we provided the back layer for almost all these like NFT metaverse projects. We created like, it was basically handed like an agency where like we did everything for them and they just had to provide like all the other materials required to launch that product. It was probably like the AWS for like Web3 basically.
I see.
And we were a very small company. Like we were handling every client like an agency, like very tailored, very custom solutions to everyone. And it was like, we had a template of what we were going to do on a technological level, but we like never actually knew what we were offering for like the first 4 to 5 months. Honestly, like when I left that company, they still didn't know, like they were still operating like an agency. So like, yeah, it was a difficult spot as well because that industry like crashed after a couple months after. But
did you do like cold call? You described this
No, I think in person is really helpful. I think like meeting people face to face, especially like when people are like especially if it's a hands-on industry. So like media entertainment is a hands-on industry. Automotive is a hands-on industry. But if you're doing like B2B SaaS, doesn't really matter. Like you can cold call people, cold email people. But making that first connection with like these high touch industries is really important.
So assuming you're going to this like Lamborghini dealership, right? You wanted to pitch them about this. How do you do it? Like just maybe walk me through.
I mean, the guys already knew me. I just bothered them so much. I was like, do you have this car?
When you see those guys, are they like salesperson? Are they management?
Yeah. They were general managers there. And I was just like, oh, do you have this car yet? Like, can I go spec this car out? And they're like, Pravardh, you're 15. You cannot afford this car. It's a $3 million car. And I was like, no, but like, can I do it? Like, can I please see it? Is it all? And I used to come almost every week. So they knew me. Like they did not want me in there, honestly. So when I was like, hey, like this can increase your brand loyalty, and if customers can like buy a $300,000 car and they will get an additional utility added to that, they'll be more than happy to do that. And they're like, oh wow, this seems like a smart idea. And then they like forward it to like their general management on like a business side, because like they're sales, so they wouldn't really understand like that side. But I mean, it was good. I think like me being super vocal about what I wanted, regardless if that was good or bad, like it helped me in the long run.
Like persistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I love the story. Okay. So what happened after that?
Parents were like, wow, you really need a plan B just in case. And I was like, okay, I'll go to community college. How does one go to community college? The high school degree. Basically convinced my chancellor. I was like, hey, I will be the best alumni your school has ever witnessed. And he was Indian, thankfully, and he was like, sure, why not? You need to do these courses before you enroll in like all the college courses. I was like, sure. So I concurrently started doing that, but I was like, it was the itch to build was like always there. And this is another crazy story, but like my second co-founder for my second company, we met through the M&A deal for the first one, and he was an M&A lawyer, and in that meeting something like struck me, and he was like, Pravardh, when you're done selling that something, what did he say? He was like, when you're done selling that something that's like bad, basically, because it was like Web3 in his eyes, and he was 64. come sell something real with me that actually has a real impact on the world.
So he's like 64 professional and M&A lawyer.
Yeah, so he's
Okay.
64 years old. He was an M&A lawyer, and then he ran BP Europe for like 14 years. And he's from the United Kingdom, and he was like, "You're pretty good at selling. Like, I saw you sell, and what you sold was absolutely rubbish. But that means you can sell something that actually has merit really well." And I was like, "Sure, I'll join as a 1099." So I joined as a contractor initially, and then he was like, "Oh wow, you're doing pretty well." So he like basically made me 50-50, and then he like was like, "I want to go work on my deep sea mining company," and I was like, "Sure." And then I basically took over the entire thing.
Wow. Okay.
And that was during community college.
I see. Yeah. How did you meet with that person?
It was just through a mutual meeting in our first meeting for our like diligence calls for our first company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you somewhat caught his eye and you impressed him somehow.
Somehow, I don't even know how, but he was just, have you seen like the sell me this pen thing? And he was like, you did that, but for like the most useless product this world has ever seen. And I was like, no, it has pretty good merit. And he was like, no, I'm 64. Like I could not care about NFTs.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's so right. And he was like, come see my world. And his world was oil and gas. So
Yeah. So he made you like a 50-50. So you're basically a co-founder.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So what happened after that?
So that company was a distributor of a larger company. So it was a larger company that owned IP, and they gave us like exclusive distribution right to America, just America. And I was like, wow, they have really like totally swallowed us up, and like we're screwed because now we only have America distribution to look at. And most like trucking companies, construction companies, maritime companies, like they're based outside of the United States, and then they do things like operations in the United States. So I was like, we're screwed if we ever want to target any of these large industries. And the only way we can actually target these companies in America only is doing direct to consumer. And I don't know how to do direct to consumer. So we are basically screwed. And he was like, Pravardh, you're going on a rant, just go work and just like try it out. So I was like, okay. Blew $30,000 in my first month trying to do SEO and like all these marketing silly things. And I was like, this direct to consumer model is not for me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go do what I'm good at. And it was B2B. And I was like, okay, we need to go renegotiate these deal terms and tell them that if we can get into other geographies, then we get the entire like geography. Started off with India because obviously my grandparents are super involved in politics there. And then India expanded into China. Met my really close friend. His parents are on like the agricultural committee there or department there. So India, China, then Japan. Met the guys at Kubota, tractor company in Japan, who ran worldwide operations for Kubota at another San Francisco event that I hosted. And he was like, oh, you should talk to my parent company, Idemitsu. So we expanded into Japan. Then we had distribution all of North America after that. And then that was like 2 years, over a course of 2 years. But
what exactly is the product?
it's the world's first biodegradable fuel additive. So you can put it in your fuel tank, any fuel tank, regardless of if it's petroleum, all light fuels basically. And it reduces main emissions by 30%. So carbon dioxide, monoxide, all the fun, nitrous oxide, and increases fuel efficiency by 8 to 10%.
And that's directly being added by the oil company.
Yeah. So I was the D2C side would be like, oh, we're selling these like boxes of like or containers of fuel additive, but it was just dumb. It was just a dumb business model. And then I was like, why don't we just go to all these oil companies that don't have what Shell, Chevron, BP have and sell them this and be like, hey, we can create this exclusive blend of product for you. You can charge 20 cents per gallon more, and we can create a joint venture with you in your country under your terms. And it worked out really well.
Wow. And is oil, I'm not familiar with oil and gas industry, but is that like a very regulated industry?
Very, yeah.
Okay, how, like, so every country has their own like policy and, regulations?
Hmm.
Okay.
So that's why we did JV under their conditions, because Idemitsu is only in Japan. It's the largest Japanese oil company. PetroChina, largest Chinese oil company, and Indian Oil, largest Indian oil company. So we followed their regulations and their rules, so we don't have to navigate any of those legal processes. Obviously, we took a cut from our top line, but that is more than worth it compared to like the legal issues that could arise. So we did that.
So you started with like 2 people, you and this founder.
2, and then we had 3 founding sales, all over 60 as well. One of the guys Anchorage, one of the guys Texas, and one of the guys in Montana. And those guys had a lot.
Who is the kid in the room?
A lot of experience, like 40, 50 years in trading or like commerce and shipping. So that really helped. And then we grew to, and then I hate like operational costs. So I was just like, we're not going to hire anyone full time outside of these 3 people. So we just hired 1099s. And like it worked really well because these people could sell directly into their companies. We only hired trucking, construction, and maritime employees. They can work nights and weekends, sell directly into their companies, and make a commission off everything that they do.
So you make like this company cost from operation really, really low.
Very low. Yeah, I hate HR. I hate paying the whole insurance thing.
I see. So you said you actually started as a 1099, and then after like period of time, he think you're really good.
Yeah, so I became W-2.
So what did you prove yourself like really good?
I just landed a couple of trucking contracts.
I see. And you actually go to the trucking company and talk to them directly.
It just happened to be that I like knew a couple of owner operators. So a lot of the trucking landscape in the United States is a lot different compared to a lot of the other countries, where almost 60 to 70% of the operators, trucking operators in the United States are owner operators. So they own their own trucks and they operate like 3 other trucks. So it's like a company that has 4 trucks, but there's like a million of these people. So like it's a lot of like operators and a lot of trucks, but it's not individually owned by like large fleets like Knight Transportation and all these like transportation companies that you see. So it's like basically selling into direct to consumer, but it's not. It's like a little in between where you're selling to this business, but the business is this one guy who runs like 5 trucks.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I just knew like a couple owner operators from California. Just the port of Oakland was right there where I lived.
Yeah.
So I just like was like, hey, like, do you want to save 10%? And they're like, this is a scam. And I was like, okay, I'll send you free product for like 2 trips. See how it, like we had a lot of trials, like 33% discounts on our rates, and it worked out really well for that customer segment. But yeah, nothing was as successful as the B2B aspect of the company.
Yeah, I actually observed what your story up to this point. There seems to be a pattern is like the reason you're good at the, like selling or business development is because you offer the value upfront. That including the conversation between you and then community college, say that I will be the best alum, right, from this college. It's very interesting. So like that's your style, kind of straightforward.
Yeah, I hate people pleasing. Like if people don't like me, don't worry. There's like 700 million other people to talk to.
There's no shortage of people too.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's very interesting. So it's an interesting story, right? Because you started with the first company, you were like an intern. I mean, there's no money transaction, anything related, involved. And they exited the company. Is that my story?
So correct? It was my business unit. So it was only my unit that was sold.
I see.
And they're still running now.
I see.
So it was honestly like
How did that happen though?
I don't know. I think like our unit had the most like ROI in terms of like customer and data for Oracle. So it was just like, we did media entertainment, and Oracle also owns like a crazy number of entertainment companies or like stakes in entertainment companies. So they were like, wow, this is like long-term really helpful. So it was just our business unit and all our data. And I think that was also another reason. But that happened really well. And I think like the biggest thing in terms of like transactionalness, like I hate being transactional. That's like, I think I said that in your class, like don't be transactional. The second thing is like the only transaction that was happening is that like the learning. Like the only thing I was like influenced by was like, wow, these people like have set up successfully, have a pretty good MRR, and they're doing really well at a young age, and I wanted to be like them. So the only thing that I wanted from them was like, please teach me and please tell me everything that you're doing. And like that was the only thing I wanted at that time. And that's why I was like, please, can I be your intern?
Yeah, it's very interesting. So you on one hand, you're a very long-term thinker because you want the learning, because you feel like that was the most probably important asset, right? You could acquire at that moment. But on the other hand, is you wanted to enjoy in this moment. You want your freedom. So I see like this, like maybe one side is still a little playful, like a child, but on the other hand, is like I need to grow up. What do I need to be doing to be successful?
I think like a child though is also always learning. I feel like while you're being playful and having fun, you're also learning.
Yeah, I hear this.
It's just like crashing into walls, and you're just like, wow, that's a brick and that's foam. And I think like from that learning, I think like it was driven by honestly like a regret that I have, where I like try to find the easiest way to the success. Like, oh, I don't want to go to my MBA program. I rather go talk to like founders, and that's like probably the best way to like go be successful in this industry. And maybe that's wrong and maybe that's right, but I think like that's the biggest learning and education that I want is like if there was a school that like literally that had different professors every day, and they were just like founders and
founder school,
founder school, like not even like YC or any of these, like literally school, and they taught you like different subjects. That would have I would pay like thousands of dollars for that. I think like that learning is just exceptional. I don't know if you've heard of Alpha School. It's like 2 hours of like learning and then 6 hours of hands-on learning. So you're just going out and camping, you're doing all your classes outside, you're like hands-on, like Boy Scouts, but like actual school. And like those kids have like returned higher on literacy, higher on mathematics, higher on English, higher on science scores than like K to 12 schools across California. So like it's proven that like fooling around actually does help.
Yeah, I agree with you to a large extent. Is like learning is supposed to be fun, Yeah, that fun part, I think it's like so many benefits associated to it, right? You can be very motivated. You just enjoy yourself. It's just, I see what you're saying.
You saw the Triton testing center outside. Everyone was so depressed. Like
a lot of testing center, I can tell. And then, okay, so the first company you basically is a number 7, right? And then you joined as an intern and then you exited. And they sold this particular unit to Oracle, right? The second company you started very beginning. And you're like
that was honestly probably
like co-founder. Yeah. So okay. So how do you see the difference? Like the first involvement with that particular company versus second one, you actually starting from scratch. I mean, do you like to be a founder? Why founder?
Intrapreneur versus entrepreneur is a very important distinction. I think like I wanted to do before being an entrepreneur. Hot take. This is my hot take. Before being an entrepreneur, I think you need to be an intrapreneur. And the learnings are like the biggest difference between the two. If you do entrepreneur before intrapreneur, you're taking a bet on yourself and your learnings.
To figure out everything.
And your learnings, especially. If you do an intrapreneur for an entrepreneur, you're not taking that bet on your learnings, but you're only taking a bet on yourself. And I think that is a better risk management compared to like the opposite way around. And I think like why founder, you're going to get more ideas to be a founder from being an entrepreneur than going straight into entrepreneurship. Because you see all the issues, you know how to like manage your team now because you've seen the issues in running a startup operationally. You're going to see HR issues. You'll be like, wow, companies are really paying that much money on my health insurance. You have to, California requires you to have health insurance, even if you're not like doing some crazy construction work. So that also gives you learning. Like, I don't want to run my company like that. But if you jump straight into it, it's like jumping into fire. Like it's like it's crazy. It's like Mowgli. It's like the animal.
Yeah, it's a very interesting perspective. Actually, I'm glad that you bluntly, share kind of your perspective. Because some people could be like a little more reserved, because every option has pros and cons.
Yeah.
But I think your own experience informed you. You started with an entrepreneur, therefore you could learn from like an organization, right? You can see the pain point, what things you should do more, what things you should avoid. That like learning kind of enabled you to be a founder, be like a little more aware in terms of what potentially could happen, and how do you avoid, and how do you build a company differently.
Yeah. You can avoid dumb mistakes. It's like the TLDR of that. I think like, not saying like first time founders, there's so many examples of like people just jumping into entrepreneurship and they're like successful. I just think that it's just going to take you longer if you do that way, and it's just going to hurt more. Like if you do a mistake, you realize that you won't, like, you're not going to do that same mistake if you were in the same position like 2 years ago and you were an entrepreneur. So learnings is the biggest difference between the two. And I think like asking the why founder, why or why not, I think like the biggest difference is learnings. Second thing is difficulty of actually being successful. Like the percentage, I don't even remember what the percentage is of like companies that fail is absolutely insane. Even venture backed, like
more than
fail.
90%. More than 90% fail.
So that's crazy.
Consistently. Like, it's like a big data, to inform you.
So that's crazy. And only 2% of companies are venture backed. So like that's another crazy stat. So like if you're 90% of the companies fail, so you're in there 10% that are successful, that's good job, like fire. But if you're in the 2% that is venture backed and you still fail, no hate to those people, but that's embarrassing in my opinion. Yeah. And I think our today's generation, I think that's what I think your generation does really well, is like they don't glorify VC money. Like they recognize that if you take VC money, you are absolutely screwed if you do not do what the VC wants. They will fire you. But our generation is like, I got $2 million. I got $3 million. Now you have $3 million of debt to pay back to your VC. Not even $3 million. They expect a 10x, so $30 million.
Yeah.
And I think like raising is not cool. Like you are basically playing with other people's money and their livelihoods, and your employees are betting on you that you're going to be successful. So I think it needs to be a lot more serious as well in that perspective of like raising money. And then the third thing is why you should not be a founder is like the sacrifices are there. Like my life, everyone just like sees my Instagram stories and they're like, wow, Pravardh's exploring so many silly things. He's going on all these like little side quests. He's skipping school. He's skipping class, but that takes a toll. Like me deciding not to be here, sorry to my like midterm, whatever that's happening, but
just everyone know he skipped a midterm today. And today is Halloween.
Exactly. It's Halloween. I skipped for Halloween. It does take a toll because like now I'm like, okay, like now I have to calculate my percentage and like the whole, it takes like a bad mental toll as well. So like those decisions you have to be like upfront about, and also like you have to sacrifice like time and family time. Like I'm not flying back home for my mom's birthday, like November 24th, because I have work here. That's unfortunate. Like sacrificing family time. I could not be there for Rocky like on that or Diwali for the actual day because I have work here. Like that is like the big like sacrifice of time and energy with your like significant others is like another reason why you should not be a founder. But
I feel like I don't know how you feel, but I just all of a sudden this idea come to my mind. I feel like if you're a founder, like this whole venture is kind of part of you. You take this venture everywhere you go, because you wear the hat as a founder. Yeah. That is something you're creating, right? But if you're an entrepreneur, I know that, especially came from the tech industry, people work very hard. People also sacrifice a lot. When I was doing, working at Apple, I travel a lot. So I don't see my family in most of the important kind of occasion, right? But because I have a work to do.
Yeah.
But I could probably still have vacation because, it's just, that was like, I worked very hard for a year. Let's take like 3 weeks vacation. When in that 3 weeks, hopefully most of the time I don't have to thinking about it because someone else can take care of it. But if I'm a founder, I don't even know if I would be able to take a vacation, especially when things are going like crazy. It needs me. This company needs me to be here.
Yeah. I was telling my parents, they were like, so you're going to spend all the 3 days with us when we were back home? And I was like, guys, like, I honestly do not know. Like, startups pop off so randomly. Like, I was doing a lunch with all my friends, founder friends back home on Diwali. And 10 people were supposed to come and 4 people only showed up. And she was like, if they were my friends, they would never do that. And I was like, all of them are founders, all of them have work, and all of them have meetings that randomly pop up. If you were running Google, would you be doing that? Like, would you be like, sorry guys, I have to go grab some party to run to. Yeah. And that is just a reality check. Like, if you have founder friends, I'm sure you'd also like, oh, sorry, something came up. That is very real. Like, time changes like instantly. Like, literally, there's no better way to put it. Like, literally, time changes instantly, and I think like that stress is always there.
And that venture is your priority.
Exactly.
Because a lot of things could change,
especially when you take venture money.
Yeah, if you have to choose between your mom's birthday versus like saving this venture, I guess you have no choice. You probably go forward.
You also have that guilt. So one of my friends that's coming next week, he was like, I raised all this money, and now like if I do anything except work, I have this guilt that I'm like screwing my investors over.
So we have a founders party next week, and then when they are all here, I'd love to hear their story. Maybe not all of them, but I think it would be nice is to have some conversation.
I'm hosting a defense demo or defense day, I guess, on November 11th. So if you're free, then
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I check my calendar. Yeah, that's nice to know. Are they all like the same generation, Gen Z?
Yeah, Peter, he's in YC this batch, or X25, whatever that was, like winter 2025 batch. And then Floor, he just exited his a year ago, exited his company to Alchemy, which is another crypto company. Okay. Viraj, he is a content creator. He goes around interviewing founders, actually.
Okay, nice. I'd love to know him. Him or her, I don't know.
It's him. Okay. He has 13,000 followers.
Oh my gosh,
insane.
Okay. So something we can learn, Oceanside perspective.
Oh yeah, he literally just walks up to random people and asks them what
they do. Nice, okay.
They're great people. I think all of them are also probably share the same perspective about work. But now they're all Peter is rare. It's YC. They have all the clout they want. So a lot of it is inbound. But Floor, when he was working, he was Pravardh, I'm working. Stop bothering me. I was Floor, can we please go out? No. Yeah. I'm working. So.
Are they all same generation? Are they still students? Or?
Yeah, no, they dropped out. So.
Okay. All of them?
Yeah.
Okay, you following there?
They're all under 23. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. All right. So I'd love to meet that team, November 11th. Okay. Want to come back to this question about, because your second company, you co-funded, right? And then your other founder is 64. Yeah. How old were you when you founded? As become a co-founder? 18, yeah.
17, 18.
Yeah. Oh, so the generational gap. I mean, people often talk about it. There's many generation gaps in that. How do you think about that experience?
It worked really well. Okay. If they're the same generation in the same unit of operation within the business, then it would probably not work. But he was managing all of the logistics and operations and legal, and I was managing all of the business operations and sales. Mm-hmm. So it worked really well where we never really talked. So that was another thing. We never really talked besides every week we're hi, updates. Mm-hmm. He sent his updates, I sent my updates, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And if anything, was a little important. We called. We never hopped on a Zoom call. We never we probably met like 3 times, 4 times in person. We were never in the same city. Like I was in NorCal, he was in SoCal.
Yeah.
It worked really well because we were different. We're managing different things, and we were different people, and we had different skill sets. But it worked. It worked like a puzzle, like where we like complemented each other. It worked also really well because we were in oil and gas, and that is a white heavy industry, and he was a white old man in this awesome industry. Another reason why it worked really well is because on these Zoom calls, I had never had my camera on.
Oh, interesting.
So any sales call I took, it was always a phone call or it was a Zoom call without my face. So they didn't know how old I was.
Yeah, I was just curious about that.
And that worked really well for me. So thank God COVID. But
yeah,
like the emphasis of Zoom meetings it was crazy after COVID. But that worked really well for me where I just didn't have to like prove myself to these people. And they just took my word for it because I'm just telling them that they're doing their operations badly, and they're just like, okay, how do I fix it? Instead of like questioning my age. And that's another reason why like that generation is always like Richard, my co-founder, he took a bet, and I'm like super thankful for him because every other person would not have taken that bet just because you're 17. What do you know? So yeah, I mean, it worked really well. It was complementary skill sets.
Whether you're students, whether you're professional, whether you're a senior executive, we need both hard skill and the soft skills to make us successful. I oftentimes say that hard skill get you the job, but soft skill take you to the top. It's about a time to focus on human skills, and therefore, we can create a more balanced and coexist a better world. Okay, so if you would I know we're about to talk about your third company, but I'm just curious about, would you think it's a good idea actually have intergenerational founder work together? Because I see, for example, right in school, I mean, what you can find is probably a peer. This is happening in my class every year. It's just like, go find your co-founder kind of thing, right? So, but in the real world, when you have more choices other than just your peer, do you think it's a better idea or no difference in terms of the generation of your founder?
I think it depends on the industry.
Okay.
I think interdisciplinary, intergenerational is really important in deep tech, where you're actually creating some scientific progress and advancement in your specific niche. But if it's B2B SaaS, like you can go make it with like a 17-year-old for all we know, and it will work really well. Honestly, it'll probably work even better. Like people are investing heavily into like younger founders. So if you have someone a lot younger, which is like 17, 18, like that would work really well.
I would think the opposite. If before this conversation, like you gave me a lot of things to think about, also from your own like real experience, right? But if I haven't had this conversation, I would have thinking about B2B has higher kind of barrier to entry.
B2B SaaS, like software as a service.
I see.
That has a crazy, like it doesn't really matter. Like Teal Fellows exist, Neo Scholars exist, Sigma Squared Society under 26 founders that have all raised over like $1 million, have over $1 million in revenue. Those societies exist for a reason because Silicon Valley just likes to invest in smart young people.
Yeah, if you say B2B SaaS, I understand.
Yeah, B2B SaaS, like AI, software.
Yeah.
If you're doing that, then it doesn't really matter how old your founder is. But if you're doing something interdisciplinary that requires interdisciplines and also requires some scientific advancement and some kind of ethos and like authority, you need probably an older founder. And how younger companies tackle that is just having like a board of advisors that's just all old. So that has worked really well.
I see.
But I think if your founder is like, it's more better if you have your founder who's literally going to be involved in day-to-day operations versus your board of advisors that are just there for vibes.
Yeah.
Be part of the company, you're just going to explode a lot faster than companies that have the board as their.
Yeah. So what happened to your second company now?
And
your involvement, are you still involved?
I guess I stepped down in March to be a strategic advisor. We basically handed over the reins to a large oil company in Europe. I like was tired of that industry. It's very tiring. Politics, lobbying took everything out of me. Dealing with old people took everything out of me. Honestly, if that is a good.
What's your secret to deal with old people?
Just give them
what they want.
Just give them a little whiskey and they're all good.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think like I mean, we're talking about generations, but it's just hard when they think that they're the best, which honestly makes sense, especially in oil, like old legacy industries where they've been doing this for the last 60 years. Makes sense. But the new generation's here and we're going to take over.
Everybody hear that. And so did you I hope you made some financial gain from this involvement?
Yeah, it was helpful.
Okay, so you're rich now?
I'm comfortable.
Love the answer. How did you get to UC San Diego, somewhere in between, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
I guess I transferred over, got 6 associate degrees because I have ADHD and I don't know what to do in life. So I guess environmental studies, econ, business administration, human development studies, natural sciences, and one more. I don't remember, accounting or something.
Within 2 years?
In 1 year.
Oh.
1.1 year.
1.1 year. So you're a very good student.
No, I was just taking a lot of online classes.
Yeah.
It worked really well because all of the schedules. But I just used to do all my homework one day for the whole week, so I didn't have to worry about it. But I was at one point, one quarter, I was taking 14 classes a semester.
Oh wow! Never heard of it. That's This is a version you can take online, just fitting to.
Because it was COVID.
Oh yeah. But you still have to pass tests and you have to study, or do you actually feel that's?
I just think I took. So CC, I think, and this is another hot take, I think community college is better than university. Teachers and professors are more involved. They actually care about you. They have more TA and office hours. They have less TAs, so they're more available for you. And they actually give proper opportunities to you beyond just the classroom. And I think community college is the most hands-on experience and educational. Not that the only time I actually went to college was for the graduation ceremony, but I think with the experience that I had, the people who are more involved in the community college culture are probably have the best time of their lives because it's just so involved and it's so much fun and it's university level. It's basically doing all your undergrad, or what is it called, your lower division courses. You're doing all your lower division courses in a more involved space, and you're gonna have more fun because the professors are actually caring about you, and there's not 400 people in your class. So
what's the classroom size?
60, 70.
Okay.
80 was my highest for my math class.
I see.
But I mean, I learned so much in that little progression because math and physics and chemistry was in person because I don't even know why, but it was in person. So I went to these classes and I failed chemistry in high school and I was I will never be able to pass this class. And then I passed it with really good grades because the professor was really helpful. So I think you should drop out of college, drop out of high school, go into community college, and then transfer over. And you're also saving 2 years of education fees.
It's kind of a different route for your education.
Yeah, and you meet so many diverse people.
And have some good enjoyment, whatever the experience in the community college, right?
Yeah, you can transfer over in a year. You don't need to do 6 degrees. You can do 1 degree and transfer over. It doesn't matter. I think it's really helpful. I'm literally saving, I don't even know how much I'm paying this year for school, but let's just say $30,000. I saved $60,000 in tuition right there. So it's really helpful on a financial perspective.
Yeah, I see. I think our audiences probably see we have this 2 track. This on one hand is education, on the other hand is Pravardh's experience as an entrepreneur.
I mean, so I did education as well, right?
Yeah. No, I know. I mean,
so there's 3 tracks actually.
3, yeah. So what did I missing?
The 3rd track is no education at all, and you just drop out.
No, but you pick it up, right? Whether your parents wanted you to do it or whether you fast tracked a little over a year, got a 6 degree, you know what I mean? Just you still continue with it. It's just your own way of learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're not even there yet, right? We still have this continuous. So, okay, what happened now?
Now, I guess, when I came to school here,
It seems like a lifetime has already happened, but again, he is only still 19.
it's been so, we were talking about this literally yesterday. I was like, I'm only 19. Like,
Yeah.
what is happening? Like,
It seems like a couple life already happening in the past few years.
like it depends on the situation. It's like, I'm already 19. How am I not successful yet? But and it's like also like only 19, already 19. It's like a back and forth that I have in my head. But I think age also does not matter. Like the guy.
But I think what matters, you also mentioned that word. So how do you view success? What success means to you?
I just want to. So I have this goal that I have is to just run my own VC firm. And I think like investing in people is like the end goal. I have like other side quests that I do. I do like philanthropy, like run like debate and civics education. And I'm really passionate about human rights activism and like do all that on the side. But I think like the end goal is VC firm, investing in founders under 26 in deep tech, literally solving hard problems one step at a time is like the end goal. And I think like with that firm, like it's like an A16Z level skill that I like want to have. And that's the success. I feel like, and then obviously like having like a fun life is like also another thing. I just like, I want to do everything. Like I want to do everything that I can possibly do. So that's why I joined the Army. That's why I did all this like silly stuff and like hosting conferences. I keep going to events. I don't like the fear of missing out is a very real thing in my life. And on a good context. So like if there's a party happening, best believe I am going to be there. But if that means that I'm not going to sacrifice my work, best believe I'm not going to be there. So the priorities are work, unfortunately, and then family, and then there's like fun. And then I feel like after 5 years, I want family, number one, and then work, and then everything else. My idea of success overall is like, I don't want to have like a family until I think like the education question again is like, I think ages 0 to 12 in a child's journey is like the most important, or like they learn the most, they pick up the most from their parents. And they also are like defined a lot by life experiences. So I think like I want to be in that first 12 years, like 80 to 90% of the time in their lives. And you can't do that if you're an intrapreneur or an entrepreneur. You can only do that. I don't want to say you can only do that if you're a VC, but like you're going to have more time. And if I wanted to, I could step away and like focus on that. So I have 11 years to achieve that. So hopefully.
11 years, given your progression in the last couple of years, I mean, I have no doubt that you'll get there.
Hopefully.
But the ultimate version of that success, like the VC investing in founders, investing in people, especially the people under 26 in deep tech, that reminded me of your team's project last year.
Yeah, that's literally the whole thing. Yeah, I made.
I'm very lucky, like in a way honored to have, that kind of version kind of revealed in front of my eye, and then.
I mean, all the guys or all the girl as well, Sonia, everyone believed in that idea. Like I was like, guys, we want, like, what do we see for the future of this ecosystem, like San Diegan ecosystem? And they're like, let's make it the new SF, like let's make it the new LA. And I was like, no, let's make it the new San Diego. And like the only way to do it is like embrace our ecosystems, like UVP, I guess. And that's laid back culture. And that like honestly is like a lot of a big win, where like if you start prioritizing like people's happiness, like longevity, like that whole thing, and then also put that a little bit of innovation and like unsilo half of the university and like the tech ecosystem, I feel like we're going to be like the fastest growing ecosystem even past SF in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. So you're trying to get the unique value proposition for San Diego.
Yeah.
Create that ecosystem.
Literally, like we like to have fun.
San Diego has so much to offer.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah,
we have
so
the beaches.
Much too. I know. I know. Yeah, that's the fun part. But that's also, I mean, we know this ecosystem, that how science, biology, and there's a lot of strengths in this area. Yeah, I believe that too.
Yeah, I
and
think
I actually feel like it's more like balanced compared to the Bay.
very balanced, very
yeah,
balanced.
yeah.
The people here are different.
People
like
actually have life here.
people actually have goals.
Yeah.
Besides raising money and flexing about it on Twitter.
Yeah. All right, let's do your third company.
Third company, I was an entrepreneur there as well. I met the founders in a party. And I was
I think your party is your source of.
So this is also another hot take. I think Sen at UCSD,
yeah.
shout out, Student Entrepreneurs Network, join.
Yeah.
We believe, or everyone was like, oh, they're going to be socials doing the recruitment. And I was like, guys, my whole life is built up on socials. My first company was through a party, and my third company was through a party. I think the best way to know someone is in a social context, because people put up this weird I want to show people this when I meet them in the first place. And when we were doing recruitment and case study night and interview night, I was just like, guys, we just don't know who they are until we see them outside of this fake professional world that we're creating. And I think with partying, you see who your founders are or who your partners are on a real context. You see who they are going to be either professionally or personally based off how they act in that context. The second thing you're also going to see is how they work. So some people are super crazy in parties. Those people tend to be very, very I feel, in my opinion, from all the experiences, is that they're very calm and collective when they're working, because they're releasing all this silly energy and now they're going back to work.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is you're just connect with them on a whole social level. So you will talk about passions without caring for a world what other people think about you. So I think social is very important on a partying level. And then the second thing is putting yourself out there without trying to people please. People don't people please at parties when they're having fun with their friends. They could not care if that third person over there is looking at them weird if they're with their friends. And that is I feel that authenticity is so important. So yeah, partying. I met them to partying and it was great. I was like, guys, I can do head of growth.
Yeah, just let me maybe this whole generation thing. Maybe my definition of party is different from your definition of party.
I mean, you guys do tea parties and potlucks.
So
And
party in your mind is more like a gathering, a social event,
it can be anything,
or anything. It's
gathering, social event.
Very organized, or very casual, or just
Oh, I love
serendipity.
Formal banquets and things like that. I think just gathering, where it's social. It's social gathering.
Is there an objective for that?
No objective whatsoever.
But do you get what type of people together? Invitation goes to who?
SF is just all founders. It's founders, wannabe operators, or VCs.
Okay.
So it's already curated.
So basically, people are within that ecosystem.
Yeah, and I just think that SF is also very fake. Even at parties, everyone's let me grab your LinkedIn. No. If we were doing that, I already know what kind of person you are. And I feel with San Diego, it's a little harder where you just don't know who they are. It's just harder to read. With San Francisco, it's so easy. Everyone's so upfront about what their intentions are with you. And if they're transactional off the bat, I just know that I don't want to interact with them. Because if they're transactional off the bat in a social context, that's crazy to me. How are you asking someone for their LinkedIn in a party? That's wild.
Yeah.
So connecting with people on a social level and personal level.
But if you don't connect on LinkedIn, how do you connect?
I mean, social, personal level. Let's talk about the future of deep tech. Let's talk about micro trends. Let's talk about our hot takes.
But if that conversation goes well, I assume.
And then we'll take each other. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But if the first thing you see them and be like, wow, you're cool. Oh, you're the person on Twitter. Let me grab your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That is... You'd think that's crazy, but that's literally what happens at these things.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
No, I see your point. Okay, very good. Yeah, okay, let's come back to your third company.
Anyways, yeah, founding growth, they already had a founding growth and they were like, oh, we need another growth. And I was like, sure, I can be a growth. I was also in crossroads of work because I just came back from the Army and I was like, I really, really like defense. I did a couple on-sites for other companies. And they went really well, but they were like, okay, we're going to wait till December. And I was like, okay, I have so much time now. So I was like, I'm really passionate about this space. I'd love to talk to you. And it went really well because I had like also an intro to the company. So, I mean, it was just standard like referral kind of conversation. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You are like very early joining the team, or?
Yeah. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was like the 5th person.
Okay. And what is your responsibility?
I just do growth.
The growth. Okay.
Yeah.
This is mainly like business development.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Just getting companies. We're operating like an agency as well right now. Very early stages. Raised like 1.5 million pre-seed from Unusual Ventures and Conviction. And I mean, it was just like a startup, normal, high growth.
What about like other founders? Like, are they
The two
background or generation or diversity?
Oh,
I'm
all
just
under
curious.
the oldest employee is, I think, just turned 21 or just turned 22. I'm not sure of his age, but 2 founders are 18, 19, Harvard dropouts or Harvard on leave, I guess. And my boss, I guess, my founding growth is younger than me, or maybe we're the same age. And he's a junior at Brown, also a dropout. Yeah.
So it's like a SaaS company.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Unfortunate. I didn't want to. I don't really like SaaS, but.
Do you consider yourself as a co-founder, or do you consider yourself?
No,
as
I'm an
entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur.
I see,
Yeah, purely. Like those girls, they're like the smartest people that I personally like have seen, and like dreams and ambitions are definitely there. So also Harvard. Come on now, it takes effort to get into that school.
Yeah. And what industry is that?
It's marketing, but now we've like pivoted into like more AI focus on that.
AI focus for industry specific or general?
So our wedge is like e-commerce. So we like help direct to consumer companies rank higher on ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and all these generative engines. But like fundamentally, we like understand how like these generative engines work. And then like we do that kind of research. So we're more of a research driven than a brute force driven, unlike our competitors. No offense to them, but
I see. Yeah. So what do you think about AI since we're on this topic?
AI. I think that the software alpha has diminished. And I think that, okay, this is also like very, very hot take, but I think like, or it's not a hot take because the numbers definitely do add up, but I think like the return profile for VCs is converging between hardware companies and software companies, where software companies historically were returning higher, they're returning fast, and their iteration cycles were very fast. Now it's switched with hardware, where hardware's iteration cycles are very fast. Their time to revenue or like time to like profitability is less than 3 years, and they're exiting very fast. And now surprisingly, we have a crazy number of VCs that are investing in hard tech. And software is just sitting there. Like, when's the last large software acquisition? Conversion and churn rate has gone up. Conversion rate has gone down. Churn rate has gone up in software companies, especially in SaaS and consumer companies. And like the founders are just leaving. Like there's been a lot of cases where like these consumer apps and like AI SaaS companies are just like shutting down because they just don't have enough money or they don't have enough drive to continue the company. So I think like the software alpha that was like AI is just like gone now, where deep tech and hardware companies are taking up the game. Also, like there's a lot of micro trends that like I see are especially playing in game, but I think like AI is just like you have to do something scientific related, AI infra especially, anything related to deep tech, biotech, space tech, defense tech, AI applications are going to do really well. But B2B SaaS, oh my God, I hate that niche. It's like, what are you doing with your life? Like kind of vibe. Yeah.
There's so many like AI company these days.
So many.
Almost everyone you talk to, there's like another company. How does your current company differentiate? What is your unique value proposition?
Yeah, it's fundamentally grounded in research. And I think that like if you take a scientific approach, you're going to be better than 99% of these AI companies, because most of them are, one, ChatGPT wrappers, or two, like they're only driven on conversion rates, and like they don't really care about the science behind it. And that's why I meant like brute force. I think like ours is like, we actually fundamentally try to understand how the model works and like research what it prefers and what it doesn't prefer. So grounding in qualitative and quantitative research data is really, really important.
So since you're a very young founder company, right? Or all the employees, I would say at this point is very young. I'm just curious, like what is the company structure? You know, is that like a conventional, still you have the CEO, the CFO, the CTO, and
Everyone's doing everything.
yeah. So just like everybody will wear multiple hats. Do you have like board member advisor?
Yeah, so we have advisors, but like our entire thing is like we're building it right now. So we raised a pre-seed, and pre-seeds are just like based, it's just a bet on the founder. So we're raising, or we're getting an advisory board, and we're getting like mentors down. But a lot of it is like everyone's doing everything. Like I literally started off as growth, and then the 4th day I started coding. So like I was the entire front end, the entire like front end for like the dashboard and the entire like all of that was me. Like I somehow like hopped on this coding. Like I started coding for some reason, but I was a growth. So yeah, young companies, everyone's doing everything. Unless you can't code, then it's fine. But like everyone is expected to have like some kind of skills in that.
You also mentioned there are companies like grounded by research. It's about who are the one doing the research.
The two co-founders are really good. Like they, one of them is like has a background in like astronomy and like physics and like the whole thing. And like one of them, like both of them are like, I think psychology majors, or were psychology majors. So like that also has like a lot of research involved in that. So yeah, it's like everyone's smart on the team. That's not the problem. I think like it's like how we execute and how we take up that is like the real deal.
So we talk about in the class like the entrepreneurial mindset. I mean, in that environment, like could you maybe describe like what that really means?
I just think that in that environment, it's just everyone has so many good ideas, and sometimes there's an overload of good ideas. What I learned in the Army, it was like, my drill sergeant was like, "Where are you from, cadet?" And I was like, "Silicon Valley." I was like, Fremont, the Bay Area drill sergeant. And he was like, "Silicon Valley?" And I was like, "Yes, drill sergeant." And he was like, "You Silicon Valleyers think you have so many good ideas, and you do have good ideas, but you guys have a lot of good ideas and nothing gets done." And I was like, that is actually a very good observation. So that is also another like vulnerability where you have so many good, smart people. You just have a crazy amount of good ideas, but nothing gets done. And it's like pivot. And you're pivoting like 3 times a day. And that's like honestly what happened like for the first couple weeks. Where like we're just pivoting because everyone has these crazy good ideas. What we call it is like the 7 stages of grief. We start off like we're so happy, we're pumped. Oh my god, it's gonna work. And like wait, one person has this crazy like concern about the idea, and like oh no, that actually may be a big concern. And then we like oh it's like dead. Like it's like a little curve that we see, but it was fun overall.
I can't wait to ask you this question about Army because I feel like that's like separate from the founder, but it seems like it has a lot of influence in you. So what happened? That's like the Army side of Pravardh.
I don't even know. I have always, so I wanted to enlist, like go to basic training in high school. I did the ASVAB, the aptitude test for the military at Moffett Air Base, NASA's thing. And I did the whole thing. I did the whole process. I got top 1% in the ASVAB. My recruiter was super happy. He was heels over head, and he was like, "Wow, you can do whatever you want. You just have to go to basic training for 10 weeks." And my parents were like, "Oh, hell no." They were like, "You are not going." And they were like, "Wow, we're so proud that you passed this test, but that's it. That's all you're doing." And I was like, "No, please." And they're like, "If you like love us, you're not going to do this." And I was
What
like,
kind of test is that?
it's like it involves mathematics, English, mechanical, physical, engineering questions.
Like very comprehensive.
Very comprehensive.
Okay.
And they were like, you're not going to do it. And I was like, I was like, mark my words, I will be back. And ROTC like showed up and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And basic camp was non-binding. And I assured my parents I'm not going to do anything with it. Went to basic camp. It was in Fort Knox. Didn't know what to expect. They like release YouTube videos, but they're like a little bit like less than what you're actually going to experience. And I mean, that completely changed me. So I was crazy in spring quarter. Like I never did anything education related. I was only having fun, and I had no company as well because I stepped down in March, and spring quarter starts in March, I think. And I was the freest man alive, and I was going out every day. And I was like, wow, I really need to lock in. Spring of 25.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, I really need to lock in. And I think like that decision like definitely changed me, where now like time is valued a lot. So they used to make us wake up or formation at 04:30 a.m. And we used to sit there or like stand there for 2 hours just because they wanted us to. And I was like, wow, time is really important. And we used to train for 18 hours a day, roughly.
Wow.
And we just didn't know what the schedule was for the day. So like having that like, all right, guys, you're going to the barracks now. Oh, thank God. We're going to have some time to rest. No, but you're going to do barracks maintenance. And you're going to go clean oh, drill sergeant, we just cleaned. Are you questioning my decision? Go do 30 push-ups. Like having that like being humble, respecting time, discipline, like those three things are like the biggest thing that like, and also like the whole like you should have fun in the moment. I realized that after honestly the military, because like you can't fool around. Like you think you can fool around, but you honestly can't fool around in there. And like the value of like, we woke up like 04:30 or like honestly, because we had also like night fire watch, which is like, let's just say you sleep at like 2100 or 2200, which is like 10 p.m. and you wake up at like 4. Like in between 10 to 4, you'll have like 1 hour shifts where you have to go out with your weapon. You have to go walk the halls and like sweep the halls and clean the bathroom at like 1 a.m. just cause like you have to count all the weapons and count all the personnel. And like I was like, wow, like life looks a lot better outside of this. I started valuing that a little bit more, but
yeah, is that like kind of the experience you expected? Like
no,
okay.
I didn't know what to expect, honestly.
Yeah.
I didn't even train. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have fun over there. This is going to be great. Let's meet some nice people. And I was like, this is crazy. Like it changed me for the better. Like we were doing like 12-mile rucks.
Yeah. How did that change you for better?
Just like, I think like also motivation, like I didn't know I could do, like my parents were so proud. They were like, wow, you did that. Like we saw the YouTube videos. We didn't know you could do that. Like that was also another thing. Like I didn't know I could do that.
Like you challenged yourself.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge. And I think like now, like any problem that arises, I was like, I was in Fort Knox. Like I went through that. I can go through this anytime. So that has also been like a grounding moment where you've been through worse. Like today, like I mentioned, I hurt my back and I like literally could not walk this morning. And one of my friends was like, oh, like, do you want to like go get medicine or whatever? And I was like, you know what? If it's, so what it was like, life, limbs, or eyesight is what our drill sergeants used to say. If it's not affecting your life, your limbs, or your eyesight, don't complain about it. And I was like, you know what? It's fine. That's whatever. Like, oh.
Yeah, it's kind of build your capacity for, I don't know, for like all kinds of
silly problems that come arise.
I would not say silly problem, but I guess it's just to put everything into perspective. Yeah. Just the people that I met there as well, they're like, this is a lot of money. So we got paid $2 an hour pre-tax to be there. And they were like, wow, we're going to go use this money and like go splurge. Like this is a great time. And I was like, guys, $1,300 for 40 days is not a lot of money. They're like, Pravardh, you come from the richest zip code in the nation.
And I was like, that is actually very true. So like also complaining, like people complain about being at UCSD. There's people that go to the randomest schools in like North Dakota and they're probably having a great time there. So like that perspective was honestly a lot.
Yeah. So I'm very curious because, the earlier conversation we have up to this like Army, kind of training point is how you desire for freedom. How do you desire to, create something, to build something, to networking, to party, and then this whole, chapter of like Army job right here is like, you cannot do anything free will in that environment.
Yeah.
You follow the order, whether this order has a good why or not, it's just because, your boss said that.
Exactly.
I don't think they call it boss. What do you call it?
Drill sergeants.
Yeah. They said that. Therefore, you have to do it.
You have to. You can't complain. So the whole part of my life was this stemmed from probably childhood, but complaining was a huge one. Like, why? Like, if my mom says something, why, Ma? Like, why do I have to do that? That's so stupid. Like, why do I have to do that?
I can see that still
right?
in your
Like, class, for example. Why do I have to take a silly midterm to pass this class? Like, why can I not just take the test in the final? Like, why do we have to do that? And then, like, now these drill sergeants are like, there's only one stairwell up to barracks. There's 3 floors. How are you going to get up? 200 people have to get up these stairwells, right? We're in formation. Go get your water canteen in 2 minutes and be back down in formation in 2 minutes. If you don't, then you'll see what happens. And they used to do that every day. And I'm like, wow, we are never going to make it up and down in 2 minutes. Like they are basically giving us unpassable standards. Impossible missions that we can never complete. And we just know that we're going to get punished at the end of the day by doing like push-ups and burpees and all that crazy stuff. But you can't complain about it. And if you did, you get more punished. So, and people, honestly, like they like kicked out people. Like they literally put them on a helicopter the next day if they like acted up. So that gave me a grounding where like life could be worse. And you should definitely be grateful for what you have, and not only just be grateful, because there's being grateful and there's actually being grateful. So like being grateful and like reflecting on what you have is like, or like being asking yourself like the right questions is like very important. Like what do you want to do with your life is like very important as well. And I think like that's very rare for like college students in general, where like they're like, oh, we're gonna just live life on autopilot for the next 4 years, and then when I apply to a job, I'll apply to a job and I'll live autopilot for the next 20 years. And I think like I literally told my parents when I came back home, and I was like, so we had family day and we had Taco Bell. I love Taco Bell. Shout out Taco Bell. And they were like, what did you learn? And I was like, guys, I think everyone should go to the military, like the basic camp. It's just so helpful. You'll learn so much things, and you'll learn how to fire a weapon. It's great. Like, but yeah, it really puts life into perspective.
Yeah, no, I like that. You share that perspective. That was new to me. I never had experience. I don't think I will, but but it's interesting to hear from someone who actually just is still going through this, right?
Yeah.
Do you see yourself in somewhat Army form in the future?
Probably not. If I drop out, I can't contract ROTCs only for college students. But I told my parents, like, I was like, mark my words, I'm gonna join as a citizen. So you can join as a private citizen. So like, if the Army needs you in like legal, engineering. Recently, a couple like I think executives from like large tech companies became lieutenant colonels automatically. I don't even know how that works, but like I really want to do that down the line. I only did it for the learning. So like again, tying this back into like education, like I think that there's better ways to get your education, and optimizing from your resources and from everyone around you is like really helpful. If like people, I keep throwing North Dakota under the bus, but if you're from North Dakota, you probably need school. But if you're from states like California, like large metros, probably do not need school, and you can get learnings from like other places because you're a lot privileged than other people. And if you're not going to use that privilege for the better, then like the unprivileged are going to be like, wow, like I wish I could have that. So yeah, using your resources wisely, like think smarter, not harder.
Yeah. So let's talk about your next step.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're going to become an entrepreneur working for this company, just raised the 1.5 million.
So I'm actually probably...
Oh, something I don't know?
Yeah, I'm probably going to be working for a defense company here in San Diego in
Okay.
December. So that's another reason why I'm like leaving. Or that's probably the
Okay.
main reason why I'm leaving.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just... They have a large fundraise that they're going to be announcing soon. So
I see.
that is going to be coming
in
up.
what kind of capacity?
What do you mean?
Like, what do you do with that
I'll
defense company?
I'll be on the special projects team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically anything that requires special attention.
Okay. All right. So education-wise?
Let's see if I'll be back in like 3 years. So UCSD is great where I can take up to 3 years of leave and I can come back whenever I want. And I'm probably going to exercise that opportunity.
Yeah. That's
and-
great. Actually, give you 3 years like real world experience.
But
in
no
this
one
side.
really comes back. I
that
was
right?
talking to people and I was like, so out of like the 600 people that have taken leaves in the last 4 years, how many people have actually come back? And they're like less than 10%. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I guess you expressed some thoughts about like how you learn and this and that, but you know, like in California, we're very resourceful. I mean, there's really like school is probably not the only way, and there's so many other ways that you could learn. So, how do you actually view your educational experience, like in just university? I mean, do you think that school gave you what you're supposed to learn?
No.
Yeah, I love to know that because as an educator, you know, I'm also kind of searching that answer as well. And
I'm going to be honest. I think like no class has given me education on a theoretical and book level. I think like any class that I've actually learned, like for example, your class was only through the guest speakers. Like I'm going to be honest, those slides are great, but like I think like on a fundamental level, like you can apply those like business model canvas, but I've never used a business model canvas outside of like class and school and MGT classes, period. And I think like other people, like if they have not gone to university and before they've come to university, there's so many other ways, regardless of where you are in the world. If you want to do it, you can totally go and cold call people and cold email people and go on LinkedIn and literally be like, using the student card is very important in my opinion. That's like the first piece of advice is like, I'm a student. I need help. Please help me. And people will like reach out to you or reach out back to you. And I think like with my education standpoint, like even at community college, I didn't retain anything from community college. And maybe that's because I just did so many things and that's the reason why. But I think I have only learned through the guest speakers in your class or like there's only 2 classes I've gone to, like actually gone to mine, like with mind and physical, is your class and Jody Jacobs' class, like social entrepreneurship. And her class, that's where I met Neil. And your class is where I like met you, obviously. And like I've been to a lot of classes physically, but like those 2 classes are like the only classes I've actually put my brain to. And I've like learned from like the guest speakers and like learning from the other resources from that's been offered. I think like what makes your class like very unique is like you literally have guest speakers come like I think every week.
every week.
Yeah, every week.
Pretty much.
So basically every class you have a guest speaker, so you're going to be learning from their perspective. And then another thing, I don't know if you're doing it this year, but like having time to work on your project is so
Wanted
much
to
fun.
give them more time. Trying.
But that helped a lot.
Yeah.
Like working with your group and like getting the opportunity to walk around class and like asking people for feedback and the opportunity to come up to you or the guest speaker that day and like asking for feedback. That was like more than education, theoretically. But yeah, I think.
But so I hear you about this BMC. I agree with
Yeah.
you to a large extent, right? But for like people who has not really gone through any venture before. Most or majority of the class students are like that, right? I mean, there's always like a few of them already worked on a venture or start doing a venture or in a venture, some sort of, but majority, I would say like 90% or more are the students that who actually never started something. So BMC is kind of serving as a backbone, so you understand all those different pieces coming together.
It's like the chicken or egg problem. I think the yes, innovation market is like the baseline class to like entrepreneurship. And your class is structured really well. I'm saying every other class that is on an upper division level. So to even take your class, you have to take management 16 and management 18.
Okay. What are those?
It's just silly management classes that like,
Right.
it's like managing diverse teams
Okay.
and whatever 18 is. And like to even take upper division classes, you have to have taken other management courses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is your class is the only class, in my opinion, that is structured really well, where it starts off intro and then it speeds up like crazy to like really fast. It like goes
Sometimes
really
I'm worried
fast.
that too fast.
Which is fine. Like that's the real
Yeah.
world. That's how it works. But and then no, like I'm not calling out Jody, Professor Jacobs like curriculum, but I have not learned anything about social entrepreneurship in that class. The only thing I've learned from that class is from the guest speakers, and the guest speakers are not social entrepreneurship related, which is lit.
Yeah, I was thinking about like Neil Bloom. I mean, how would he be like social? I mean, he's a venture capital, right? Like,
Yeah. And then
I see.
she also brought Heidi, which is kind of social entrepreneurship, I guess. She only invests in women.
Yeah.
The last guest speaker, believe it or not, was the vice admiral of NATO. And I was like, how is this guy social entrepreneurship? But it was good because I love that class.
Give you broader, especially when you have a lot of curiosity to learn.
Yeah,
So, right? Like
it was
all
great.
the-
That was the best class in the, and she
Different.
gave free Girl Scout cookies, which was great.
Yeah.
But
So
TLDR is
So my idea somewhat works because when I picked up the subject innovation to market, right? I mean, it's a great class name, innovation to market. Just thinking about that, so much going on between the innovation, whether at idea level or research level, whatever, and then but all the way to the market to make an impact, right? That journey is hard.
yeah.
This is what we're talking about. Like most company not even successful, and very handful are successful. And I think regardless, even though it's a great topic, but then to design the curriculum, right? I'm just thinking about there's no one person that I know, including myself, can teach it.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the
that's a good
ecosystem. We're talking.
opinion, yeah.
Is that right?
That is a really good. Everything just happens yesterday, but we were also talking about this yesterday, where like student entrepreneurship clubs are also so stupid. I have crazy hot takes about this topic. I think like founder education is so stupid. Like, what is founder education? Everyone is in a different stage of life.
Yeah.
Everyone has different experiences. Everyone has a different opinion on the world, and everyone has a different idea of innovation. So how do you put a glass box around all that subset of people and give them the same education? And a lot of these clubs around the country are doing that. And I'm like, one, how are you qualified? Professors are not even qualified to do that. How are you telling other people how to be a founder when you're not a founder? Or even if you are a founder,
Even if you're founder once or twice, but that's not.
it doesn't matter.
Everybody's story has its own.
People have $1 billion successes and then their next company fails.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So this idea of founder education and putting people in a glass box and putting them in it works for consulting. It works for biotech. It works for these guidelined places of the world where you need to go by these let's just say cases, and you need to follow these steps to be successful. But with founding, you can found a beauty brand and it does not have the same steps as a rocket company.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I have this whole idea of that's another reason why I hate MBA. How are you telling me this is the best way to be successful? Another is how are you telling me that you're why are you not doing it yourself?
Yeah.
I love that, like, the idea of like giving back, and like I respect that so much, and I love professors that are open about it. But like professors that are like, yeah, like this is the best way to be successful, and then they're like not doing it themselves.
Everybody has its own path.
Yeah.
So I agree with many things you just said. And actually, when I picked up this course to teach and design the curriculum, the first thing I thought was like, oh my gosh, no one I think could teach this class, like teach in per se. And but the secondly is also, how am I qualified to teach? You know, and I view like education and teaching very seriously because people come into a classroom to learn. You know, you better do some good job. Otherwise, I feel like what a waste of like energy and time and resources, like from everybody who is involved. So this is why I had this idea, because I came from Silicon Valley. I have so many friends that I know they're really good at what they're doing. But even that if I cannot pick one person from my wide nest of the networking field, like someone can actually teach that.
Yeah. Because
we have limited time. We could probably only did a certain part of that journey. You know, and then even if you do that once, like you said, the second time could failed miserably. You know, it depends on how much you learn. Your third is still in question, right? So this is why all the guest speakers line up. Every quarter is very like carefully curated, like who we pick and, you know, how do we assemble this whole together. It's almost, I don't think I design my class as a class. It's almost like a production. It's like a show. It's like you're putting a production together.
Everything's
every
intentional.
quarter. Everything is intentional. Even that process, right, takes a lot of trial and error.
It does.
Even though I have this intention, but execution sometimes not necessarily be that good. But I see like every year start become better and better. You know, you will be, you are the mentor for some of the team this year. So hopefully you. It
is, some. Yeah. I mean, I went through a couple like decks and stuff today, and it's gotten better. Like. Also on an informational level, like I saw our midterm deck, and I was like, wow, like this team's like deck is like phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think that like is very credited towards like education and also like the guest speakers that like
totally
they don't give the same information as they do every year.
That's right.
And every person has their own unique experience, and I think like why education is like another like crazy like. Why I like think so deeply about it is because it has such a big impact on people's like lives.
Totally.
Like direct impact. Like it doesn't like some classes like I do go to, like for example, I went to class for the first time like after week 0 like 3 days ago, and I was like listening to some things of like the class, and I was like, saying this in a classroom setting is just like crazy. Like having like those kind of conversations is crazy, because regardless of how you think of it or perceive of it, and be like, oh, I don't agree with that, and then I'm still thinking of that. So it affects very deeply on like on an intellectual level, and also especially in a college campus where like information and education is like the fundamental foundational
that's all we do.
Piece. That's all you do. That's literally what the whole university is.
We're like a manufacturing for talent. You know, that's all we do.
And a class can change that talent instantly. And that's why like I choose the classes I want to do based off like professors. It's a little stupid coming from me because I don't really go to class, but like it matters a lot because it can change your brain up. And I think like people just take education so lightly. Like, oh, I'm just doing university to get a job. Like university has probably changed your entire life and you don't even know it. Like these ideas and these thoughts that are coming into your brain from like classes, like indirectly are probably getting motivated 20 years down the line for making $1 billion decision or a $0 decision. So that's another.
So you have made your decision to drop off, like at least take this
leave.
3 years.
I'll take a leave.
Take a leave for 3 years.
Let's see.
What are your view about this degree? Like, do you feel like degree is still needed?
No.
Okay, but why do you want to come back potentially in 3 years later to get the degree?
It's just for the label.
We have 3 years to see, you know, what it will be your decision. I also wanted to leave it open-ended because, again, you know, you're a very curious person. When you get new information, that might inform you.
It is super open-ended. And that's why I was like, I'm not going to drop out. And I want to take a leave because I want to have that option open. It's not that I'm not 100% committed. It's just that I'm 19 and things change and life changes, and I'm willing to like slap myself on the back and be like, wow, like you really screwed up and now you have to go back to school, and I'm willing to take that like loss on my like life card. But if it works, then it works. Like life is good. Another thing is like, I think a degree, so like you mentioned, right? Like some people just don't have it from growing up. Those people I think like more than enough should like go to like class and like go do everything, because like they've just not grown up with it. And it really depends like your environment, what you grew up with, if you're privileged or not, like whatever you define as privilege. If you've gotten through those experiences, but and you should go to class. But I also have like the strong opinion that like it doesn't matter where you're in the world, you can go be successful. Like I literally have a friend that is a Teal Fellow, and he grew up in like the poorest country in the Middle East, and now he is the youngest person to get a O1 visa, like extraordinary citizen or alien or whatever they call themselves, and he's running like a $20-30 million company right now, and he came from nothing. So like those stories do exist, and they exist for a reason. Education's out there; it's free. Basically, like the CS 50 class at Harvard is literally online. Yeah. People professors record their lectures and post it online. You can use like ChatGPT now, which is a crazy turn of events.
Want to learn. Yeah, basically.
And you can reach out to people and use your student card whenever you want. And like the Teal Fellowship, especially, I think has opened the doors to like people who've, I guess, don't want to do education, but want to get the founder education, like we mentioned, from like really successful people. And those opportunities are like more than available right now. And capital is there. Like literally, there's VC firms that are spinning out to only back like under 20 founders. Like it's there. Like there's so many excuses, right? Like we go back to like the giving excuses thing and like complaining. I'm so over that. Like if you tell me that you cannot build something, don't even start. Like just go hop on Cursor or V0 or ChatGPT and you can go build whatever you want. Opportunities are endless. It's just motivation and discipline and consistency, I think.
So if you were to design, let's say, an educational system for people like you, what would that look like?
I'll hire my sister as a consultant first because she's super passionate about ed tech, and then I'll make her do all the work. But I don't know. I think Alpha School is like the best right now. Where
is the Alpha School, like if I translate what you told me earlier, was like basically learning by doing, right?
Yeah, it's learning by doing.
Most of the time is doing.
And it's very focused on like the scientific age of where children are taking up the most information. And they're like naturally learning, where like they're not forced to like put in time to learn. They're just like collecting information. And that's from from grades 3rd grade to 8th grade is like where they're like, they don't really have like other things in their life that they need to worry about. Maybe now, like with TikTok and all these, like, I don't even know what this new generation's up to nowadays, but it's like maybe that's a little affected on a scientific level, but it's definitely like around the same. Like 1st grade, maybe it's like 1st grade to like 6th grade now, but those ages are really important. And I think those change you. Like if you see something nostalgic from like, at least for me, is like 2010, 2012, I'm like, wow, like that, I love that. And I still love that. And I want to go back to that. But like, if you don't have those kind of experiences, you're never going to have like that kind of like nostalgic feel. And there's like friends that I have that are like, yeah, I just grew up so rich. Like my whole, like, I just don't feel anything anymore. Like my parents were never involved in my life. Like they kept making money, and now like the only thing that I crave is like family connection. So like it totally changes you. And I think that is a first step to education. And then after that, like with Alpha School, I feel, or like I keep saying this, like I'm not like a marketer for them, but it's like learning by doing. If you learn by doing as an early age, you're gonna go be scrappy down the line.
Yeah. It's like an entrepreneurial mindset at
Exactly.
the early stage.
And you're just going to grow up to do that.
Young age, not early stage. It's not a company. It's like young age.
I think another thing is like this whole generational gap thing. Like now we're going a little one generation down. All my cousins and family friends that I see, they're like, Bhaiya, like brother, Bhaiya, like what do we do? Like I'm so bored. This whole concept of I'm so bored at 10, 12, 13 years old was crazy. It like was crazy to me back then when we were 10, 12, 13 years old.
Why do you think so? Why do you think they're
Because
bored?
I mean, their creativity is down the drain. We used to like create fake games and like, oh, like that square on the carpet is lava. You can't touch that, right? Like things like that. And now like it's like gone. I honestly have not seen it. I've not. I don't know. I have just not seen it. Like kids making games. Like I like have my entire family friend group is like all the elder kids are like now like working and stuff. So like my entire like family friends that are like older than me are all gone. So now I'm stuck with the older, like the younger kids.
Yeah.
So now the younger kids, there's like 10 of them, I want to say. And I'm always taking care of these 10 kids at these parties. And they're like, what do we do? What do we do? I'm bored. I'm like, guys, we just sat down. Like, calm down for 3 seconds.
Yeah, like the short attention span is another thing, right? Like how short that, you know, and I don't know. I mean, do you feel like short attention span getting in the way from learning?
Oh, 100%. I've seen it myself. I've like, I see my peers like, this is a really good thing that Prime did, but Prime, like if you don't have like the really high subscription, they have like little ads, right?
Yeah.
Pick up your phone instantly. It's like, or like holding your phone while you're speaking to someone. I feel like that is so, maybe I come from like oil and gas and like that's like not okay if you do that, but that's crazy to me. And like having that like
multitasking all the time.
Multitasking. My sister is a really good example of this. Like she's great. She watches a show on the TV and her TV is massive, it's like 70 inches. Massive TV playing her show. While the show is going on, she has her computer in her lap and she's playing Candy Crush on her phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are you doing
this? At least 3 things going on.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, and maybe it's COVID. Honestly, I blame COVID. COVID was like I see it myself. I like pick up, Apple tracks how many times you pick up for notifications. And I see it and I'm like, wow, I'm like really picking up my phone every time I'm like not stimulated by information. So I don't know. I think like the younger generation's even more screwed up, like where they only have that. But
yeah, very interesting. So okay, so a couple questions. One is if there's anything you're worried about, like where we are going right now, what would that be?
Yeah, I think AGI, like I think I don't know if you saw like all the world leaders, like all the tech leaders have like signed this like open letter to like stop the development of like getting to AGI and like getting to like this concept of AI having conscious thoughts and things like that. That's very scary to me. Amazon just laid off like 30,000 people.
But do you think we should? I mean, are you with the world leader to stop it or
yeah,
not
I think we should definitely stop it.
Okay.
I think like, but I also think like, there's this huge like, I think there was a study like, I'm gonna say some crazy numbers, but it was something along the lines. It was like by XYZ year, like 10 to 15 years out, like at least 30% of the entire world's population would have said that they have had a relationship with AI. Crazy.
I believe it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because AI is so much nicer, always please you, always there for you.
Yeah. And that's absurd to me. And I think like that.
You know, when you were just talking about it, I'm thinking about how many people actually have pet. The reason that they're having pet because pet is always so there for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's so very nice and kind, you know, and just loyal. I mean, AI is just a digital version of that. It could be.
Like
more,
Delphi?
even more than that.
It's like Delphi.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is trippy. Like I love Alessandro's work, but when he did it in your class actually.
Yeah.
And we used to, do you remember midterm? And the class was
His-
allowed to ask questions.
Himself, right? He used himself as MVP.
Yeah.
Like an older version of Alessandro.
He for your midterm, he did like his grandmother.
Oh yeah. Or his dad
Or his dad or
someone, yeah,
grandmother. And remember when we were allowed to ask questions,
Yeah.
like the class? We were like, do you remember the question that like one of our group mates asked, or Sebastian asked, was like, so what happens when the user stops paying the fee?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he was like, oh yeah, we'll delete it after like 90 days or something, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is literally death tech. Like,
Yeah.
that is scary.
Yeah, there's also such thing that once you create it, you can never permanently delete it, even though you delete it. But it's always, it's.
That is very scary. Like, let the dead rest in peace. Like, we still troll him. We're like, Alessandro, how's your death tech going? Like,
I just had a conversation similar with him. So yesterday, yeah. So
everything's
this is
happening
still,
yesterday.
I know. So
It's-
you could, that's one. Like
it's
the
scary.
AI, the AGI, like where the AI is heading to, and it's interesting to get your perspective.
I think it's a curve. I think people will start realizing that, like, wow, this is stupid. Like, kind of like this whole emphasis of like, there's like this new trend that's started, like no phone party. For 3 hours, you're going to have no phones. You're going to interact with everyone. No music, only just talking.
Okay, wow, that's nice.
And I think like people are opening up to that. It was like it was the trend of like protein. Then it was like eating no fish, like, or eating no fish and like eating no, like no meat. Then it became like healthy snacks.
Yeah.
Then it's like slowly becoming into like, oh, we want more like real connections and stuff. So people are like slowly moving into it.
Realizing that.
But I think it's going to be like the generation thing. So it's like, you guys are like, oh yeah, like what is AI? Like, I don't even need AI to have like, to live my life. Then we're slowly like adopting this concept that like, okay, we need to start being more human. Now the younger generation Alpha or whatever they are, they're like, yeah, we can't live without AI. Like this is, so it's just going to be this never ending cycle of like, by the time we're like 60, the new generation is going to come and they'll be like, yeah, guys, AI is the new thing. Like, we're going to have so much fun.
Or something equivalent to AI,
Exactly.
right? Like at this era. Yeah. So it's like you see this like wave
Cycle,
after wave,
yeah.
the cycle. Yeah. So yeah, you also mentioned like AWS, like Amazon is laying off, Paramount is laying. I mean, there's a huge layoff happening as well. I don't know how much it was directly related to AI being, like replacing the worker, or it's just because efficiency just improved by AI, therefore they don't need that many people. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know that, like graduate student, like you just graduate from college, you cannot find a job.
Oh,
It's become
so
like,
real. So real.
everywhere.
problem.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past you feel like, oh, maybe there's like one example, two, now it's like massive. I'm worried about it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's such a huge problem. I think, like, my sister's friends are still trying to find jobs.
Yeah.
Like, my friend from SDSU, she was in San Francisco. She was like, Pravardh, I'm so happy. My friend just landed a job. And I was like, didn't she graduate like 2 years ago? And she was
it
like,
takes
yeah.
years to find. Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And I was like, what is she doing? And she was like, oh, like some biotech company. And I was like, her major is environmental science. Like,
yeah.
so it's so bad. I think that is a huge thing. Another huge thing is like, I feel like like the whole attention thing is like a huge thing. I'm like a huge I like focus a lot about like behavioral psychology and like how like people react to certain things. We're numb to like reactions. I feel like, ooh, this is like a little like crazy thing. Have you heard of Operation Mockingbird?
No.
It's a CIA operation that was
Okay.
basically gone in 2019, 2018. And they basically like pushed agendas and through podcasts and through like business news, and like basically almost 60 to 70% of news and podcasts and basically publications were infiltrated by CIA agenda. And it was like this whole thing. Like if you look back at like some of these like things, like you wouldn't even know a podcaster was like paid by the CIA because they like created these fake companies to like sponsor these podcasts and like say whatever. And that's very scary. Like and that's why I'm super
It's just like you cannot differentiate the real versus fake.
real versus fake.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm very like wary about like education. Because best believe like so Operation Mockingbird was specifically targeted to democratic states and like changing how like students thought about like administrations and things like that, and like specific bills in Congress and Senate, specifically in the House. And then I was like, wow, like this is like our education system is getting infiltrated.
Yeah, it's
so
like
like
food of thoughts. You know, in education, basically, all you're right, all the information you feed it to the system is the food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of like Neil, for example, like his child, he was like, yeah, I don't let her watch TV. And I was like, Neil, stop. And he was like, maybe I'll give her the iPad for the 12-hour journey that we're going to. But that too is also very like rare. And I was like, Neil, let your child watch TV. And he was like, no, you need to research the effects of like, not only just like screen
Like
and things like that.
What to give it to the child, versus now.
Have you seen the cartoons?
Which one?
Like, oh, this was the real thing that they were telling you about in the cartoons. Like, you look back at like cartoons that you used to watch as a child, and they're like, there's like some crazy meanings and stuff. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I would love to like just keep chatting with you. I feel like I did not anticipate this conversation. I was looking at the clock. This is like more than 2 hours already. So I think a few things I'd like to wrap it up. One is we talk about this generation thing, you know. I mean, there's real examples you have given, like the people younger than you, people older than you. And I like to like maybe have some sort of conclusive, at least a perspective, you know, to this topic is what advice would you give to the younger generation than you? And what advice would you give it to people older than you?
Yeah. Younger is don't get caught up in hype. Really, really, really big issue, regardless of geography, I think. Hype exists on Instagram, social media, Twitter, especially nowadays. And don't get caught up in hype for the better or the worse. So for the better is, or like the better hype is like, I raised $20 million as a 14-year-old. That, as much as that you think that doesn't affect you, it's like, wow, what am I doing with my life? Those kind of questions start arising. And then for the worst is like hype, like scams are going to be better than ever in today's day and age. So like, don't get caught up in like, if people are doing something, do your own due diligence, because you don't know what's fake and what's real in today's day and age. And then the second advice is just be more open. Like, don't be people pleasy. Be open to like ideas and like thoughts that are not like everyone else's, or like have your own thoughts. Have your own thoughts. And yeah, have your own thoughts. I have so many examples of this, but it's just have your own thoughts. Don't get caught up. Don't be a sheep, essentially. And then older generation. Oh, I have so many.
Okay, let's start that.
No, I'm joking. Older generation is just like, be more, it's also the same thing. Like, be more open to like these newer ideas, because it's just, there's so much innovation that is happening, and there's so many ideas that are being brought up because of that innovation. So like AI, for example, opened up this new world that we just never knew existed. And like younger, like kids are like doing innovation that you wouldn't really imagine that they could do. Like, for example, we had an EAT event with the Sullivan Center 2-3 days ago. And it was like, we went around the room introducing ourselves. And then the guy was like, you know what I was doing when I was 19, 20, 21. So like having that, like, you know what I was doing, and comparing it with what currently is happening is like probably the worst thing that could happen.
Like not relevant.
Yeah,
anymore.
Not relevant.
Or
and then the second thing is I was talking to a lot of DIB and OIC people, was having, so when, okay, this is a hot take as well. We have a lot of speakers that come to this university. Most of them are older, and most of them have dealt a lot of things in their lives, but none of them have dealt the same in the context of today's day and age. Usually they're super exited founders, they're super rich, they're super cool. Wow, they've
kind of living in their own bubble now.
They've lived in their own bubble, and they have not started a company in today's environment. And giving advice to students that look up to you because you've lived in that little circle in 1999 is not helpful for them if you tell them this is how you become successful. And that's why like I'm pushing towards like more younger founders to come to the universities because you're just not going to relate to a guy who has 40 years on you. Like how do students relate to you? So getting more like either get more relatable or you're going to get replaced as speakers.
Yeah, we also, I mean, I think the message is clear loud is like older generation also needed to adapt
Yeah.
to the current situation, right? Current environment. I think that's like to stay relevant.
And then also use technology. Learn how to use technology is a big one. Like, don't be stuck up in old dinosaur ages where like, oh, I'm going to use my Excel sheet because it's the coolest thing I've ever used in the last 40 years. No, like, be open to technology, be open to innovation, and be open to learning. And I think that is like going to be more profitable down the line.
I feel
for
like
you.
technologies get so many people fall behind. I mean, that's just like almost inevitable. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
They start seeing people divided by
Survival of the fittest.
yeah. One more question for you will be like for all the founders, what advice do you have?
Consistency. Like, you can have the best idea in the world. Also, that idea, that the best idea of the world that you've come up with, everyone else has probably have come up with the same thing. You're not unique. Like, unless you're doing some crazy deep tech, biotech idea, like, and you're going to get a patent on it, like, you're not unique. That's the first thing. And the only way to, like, this is also another hot take. I think this generation, if you work, younger founders especially, if you work like consistently every day, you will be out 99% of the population today because people like have bursts of energy. They work for like 4 days. 2 months later, they're like, wow, I really had that goal. I should go work on it again. Another 2 weeks of hype, like, oh, I'm doing this startup. I'm doing all this crazy stuff. And I've seen it in your class as well. No offense to some of these teams, but like, it really is there. First 3 weeks, they're so into it. And then they realize, okay, like, whatever, we're going to get into this easy class. Last 2 weeks, they're screwed. Their final grade is a 60%. Like, and that's honestly just because of consistency. It's like getting comfortable and not being consistent is like the biggest killer, I think. And like, if you like even do something for like 10 minutes, 30 minutes a day, and you're consistent with it every day, you're going to be out like everyone. Like, you're going to steamroll everyone in today's population. Because like attention span exists, short attention span.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to do, maybe not the second last, is, you know, we have this LITE framework at the Oceanside Perspective. So leadership, innovation, technology, entrepreneurship. The reason I picked it because I feel like all of those qualities are super important. To be like, even just like success is a big word, but even to be relevant in today's, environment. If you would have to pick one, like the most important one that you feel at this moment for you, what would that be?
I think leadership. I think mentors in anyone's life is very important, but I think like good leadership is like the best thing that you could ever have, especially as an entrepreneur. Like, if you have a good leader, you're gonna be like more than enough like relevant, I guess, in today's day and age. All the like, if you're an entrepreneur, obviously your CEO is like the face of the company. If they're good, then you're good. Like, if your CEO is like problematic and political and like is super like not caring about you, you will get screwed over, not only on an employee benefits level, but also you're going to get screwed over on a reputation level and also learning level. Like, your education is also going to be at risk. So leadership is very important in my life right now. But I think long-term is technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. We will have you come back. Long term. I mean, how long would that be?
Long-term.
Let's see.
3 years from now, we'll catch up on the
So now is probably the moment to review the question for your next guest.
next guest. You will have to answer. Are there mistakes you repeat from one holiday to the next?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Really
That's a
good
tough
question.
question. I know. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Pravardh.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this conversation so much. Again, time flies. I mean, it's almost like 2.5 hours right
Yeah.
here. And we would love to have you come back. And part of the reason we have this like founder series and featuring different generation, because we want more voice coming from younger founder like you. So
We will take over.
yeah. All right, we cannot wait.
Yeah.
I'm ready to retire, so please take over.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, so for all the audience that if you watch this episode, I hope you enjoyed it, had as much fun as we do. And if you like it, please share and tell more people about this Founders in Light produced by Oceanside Perspective. Thank you again. See you next time.
Thank you.
Okay.